Tesla's earnings were once again not exactly the best and kind of mixed, and outside of the Tesla bull, I'm not sure anybody thought these earnings were completely awesome, incredible, over the top great. I gotta be honest, it wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't really good either. So the question becomes, are we in for another beatdown from Wall Street given how much Tesla has run over the past few months? And if so, is it prudent to sell and wait for the stock to fall further and then buy again? Or do you just need to basically go all in because the Tesla train is getting ready to skyrocket like some are saying out there? Well, let's discuss all that today and the fallout from this earnings. And we have a special guest analyst on to give his take as well on these earnings. So make sure you stick around to the end for that. And just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth out the hype, because that's exactly what you're going to get today, guys. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to give it to you. I know I'll get blasted down in the comments that I don't understand Tesla and I have no idea what's going on and everything else of that nature. Hey, that's okay. The only thing I can do is bring you guys the truth, and it's done a very, very good job for us over the past 4 years of avoiding hype and instead buying the incredible lows that we've gotten and the incredible opportunities that we've gotten in Tesla instead. All right, so we actually listened to the call in real time in my group, and we actually had a big crowd there, and we kind of listened and kind of took some questions and kind of discussed it all in depth in there. We don't have an hour to go through everything, or it was an hour and a half, I think we ended up going on that particular topic there. Obviously, we don't have time to do that here, but the earnings flash sale is live for my group. If you want to watch earnings live with me or go back and watch that Tesla replay, or watch Palantir's earnings call live with us. That's the next one we're going to do. Plus get all the earnings breakdowns, all my buy and sell alerts, complete watch list with price targets, everything else. Free coaching, 5 free courses. Guys, there's so much involved in that Discord. Make sure you check out the pinned comment because the earnings flash sale is about to end and you don't want to miss out on all that because earnings is the most critical time for your stocks. So let's hit the top 5 things that stood out to me, and then we will talk about the price and selling Tesla stock and all that good stuff like that. So number 1, lots of speculation, not much tangible. All right, so as we discussed in the earnings preview, we were really looking for 2 things this quarter. Some details on the new model coming soon. I understand we weren't going to get all of it, but some details of what's going to happen, what's coming, all that good stuff. And of course, like every company gives, 2025 guidance, but unfortunately, we got neither of those. Instead, we got lots of Tesla will be $20 trillion type of talk, everything bringing in trillions of dollars, at some point in time or another, and ballistic and bombastic and shacktastic future years and all kinds of other things like that. The problem is none of that is tangible, and it's all pure speculation based on pretty much nothing. Now, I understand completely, guys, that a lot of that stuff is coming in the future, but right now there's no clue and there's no way to look out there and figure out exactly what that is. And I know the pumpers love it because then they can make all their little pretty spreadsheets show that why Tesla is a steal deal right now and actually should be worth $12,000 per share today, just like they did back in 2021 when Tesla was at 400. And the 2025 price target for some of those people was conservatively $2,000 per share, but most likely $4,000 per share. That's the most likely, and all kinds of other trash like that was going around at the time. Now, kind of coming back to reality here, Elon said last quarter that he thinks they can get back to growing at around 30% this year, but when it came time to actually give that formal guidance, this earnings call, which is where you would do it, he just said it was going to be better than last year, which is a really stupid low bar to give, given that they didn't really grow all that much at all last year. They also got no delivery guidance either for 2025, which again is not necessarily a good look. Now, maybe, I'll concede this, maybe they are holding off until the new model launches next quarter, but something to keep an eye on for sure is what is that guidance going to be for 2025 in regards to deliveries. And speaking of the new model, second point, new model still coming in 2025. Now, Tesla actually said a few new models are coming in 2025, but details were very scant whenever they said that the last quarter or 2 ago. However, on this call, he did say that the new model is on track still for the first half of 2025, which is good news, but he really gave us nothing else instead. That's okay. I wasn't expecting a giant product announcement or anything. Just, instead of hyping up something that's $20 trillion and 2 decades away, maybe hype this sucker up a little bit. That right there would have been really helpful. But because we're so close to that timeline, we know there is actually one coming, but they did hint towards multiple coming here in 2025 in the last couple of earnings calls. But we didn't really get that hint this time around that more than one is coming. So we shall see. Maybe I missed it too, guys, but I remember that multiple was definitely the way it came across in the past few earnings calls. Didn't really get that feeling this time around. Now, to be clear, we don't need multiple new models. That might not actually be prudent, but a move into the lower cost segment is a must for Tesla to continue to grow. And I think they will thrive in that space more so than the other segments they are in. And that's saying something given how well the Model Y specifically is doing. So let's see what the models are, but at least they are still on track for the first half of this year. That's good news all the way around, guys. We're close enough to it to where that timeline looks like it's actually going to hold. Number 3, Optimus is a long way off. They are shooting big, guys. Let me be very, very clear, which means it's a lot further off than anyone wants to admit. He wants something that's a lot more than all the robots that are already working in Amazon's factories, for example, which already is, there's huge amount of robots already there. Elon also said this robots will start being made and hit the floor for Tesla this year, and by 2026 be available to other companies as well. Now, but we kind of need to know, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean other Elon companies or other companies in general? And it sounded more like Elon timelines, not tangible guidance or specifics for something that is just a year away from being fully operational and out there and performing. And the degree to operational, considering it would be the pilot program first, and then of course, maybe more than one iteration later on, we'll wait and see. Again, there's not really any color there, so that's me more guessing than anything else. But either way, it tells me it is still years off from getting there. Progress? Absolutely 100% correct, but nothing appreciable to even begin to place a value on. And even his ramp and timelines were kind of vague as well. I mean, he was asked directly about the timeline and pricing, and he said because it's never been done before, it's hard to tell, which I would agree with that completely, right? That's part of these big moonshot type ideas, these ideas that nobody's ever done before. It's really, really hard to project out until you get a lot closer. Now, I could understand him if they were really close, not giving a final price as you want to see what the market's actually going to pay. But to not even give timelines is yet another indication it's years away, but that wasn't the biggest tip-off for me, that it's years away, maybe even longer. The biggest tip-off was Elon said it's 10 times more than FSD in terms of everything that's involved in making it happen. And we still haven't solved FSD yet. And while the computing and everything else is getting incredibly fast and of course accelerating, this still tells you that it's years, if not a decade away or more from anything useful that will be bought up in the millions of robots like he says will happen. You've got to keep this in mind, just simply because they're able to actually get themselves there at some point in time in the future, get the compute there, get it right. Then you've got to figure out scaling, production, and of course, selling it overall. What is the actual demand and all that sort of stuff? These things take a lot of time. So for me, it once again proved that, hey, Optimus is great. It's very much amazing, but it is a long way away. But I'm sure there'll be somebody down in the comments telling me about how it's going to add $1 trillion next year. So I guess have at it, guys. I don't know what to tell you. We'll see how that works out. Number 4, clarity on licensing FSD to other automakers. He was asked, but he wouldn't spill the beans. But we don't know who, but he did say some big manufacturers they are having discussions with. Unfortunately, it's probably still 4 or 5 years away at a minimum, as that was the timeline he gave us last year. So don't yell at me, guys. That came from Elon's mouth, not mine. That's what Elon told us. And just to kind of recap what he said it would take an OEM years to implement into their product roadmap everything necessary in order for them to license in the first place. And of course, that would actually happen after they license it, which won't happen until after they solve FSD and after it's approved, regulated, and there's proven demand for it and all that good stuff like that. Legacy Auto is not going to make moves until all those things fall in place. So that means it is a long way off, but it's good to see that they're still having discussions and there's still interest out there with major automakers, not just maybe a niche automaker over here or something like that. Number 5, margins are under pressure again. Now, this one right here was kind of, I won't say shocking is probably the wrong word, but it's definitely was the biggest surprise on the earnings call. After margins appeared to have bottomed in the summer and obviously started to march back up last quarter, well, unfortunately, they took a massive hit down once again, and Tesla didn't really address the why, or did they give specific guidance about margins in 2025, just like they didn't give guidance on anything else like that, nor did they give specifics on just how they're going to turn it all around again and get those margins back up. They kind of danced around it, talked about a lot of different things, but we didn't really get those specifics. And of course, the analyst questions were virtually useless that they asked as well. So we know they obviously have a massive CapEx number trying to ramp up all the different products. And of course, all the AI spend is massive as well. We understand that completely, and that's most likely the reason for those margins going down. Unfortunately, unless the demand for NVIDIA chips falls off a cliff, that might be a reality that Tesla is in for a lot more capex over the next year as they try to solve all these varied of, AI related problems, FSD, everything else kind of involved with that. Unfortunately, that means there's going to be a lot of capex probably hitting the bottom line this year, which of course is going to hurt those margins over the course of 2025. Which means when you kind of look at the totality of all this setup looks like a Wall Street skew job may be coming because that's what Wall Street does. So do you sell if that's the case? All right, let's discuss that. And then we'll get to discussing the future share price of Tesla. And our guest analyst will give you his take and price target as well, because I know you guys want to see a different view than mine, especially a lot of you guys that are a lot more bullish. You want to see that. But let's get down to actually should you sell or not next. Now, personally, I only sell for two main reasons. There are others as well, but let's just kind of hit the top two right here that we need to kind of think about and what I look at whenever I decide, am I going to sell a stock or not? I know number one is a fundamental change in the business. But when I look at Tesla this quarter, this earnings, to me, nothing fundamentally changed in the business. I have never accounted for a robotaxi or FSD or the Model 2 or Optimus, so these were not surprises to me. As a matter of fact, for me, that Model 2 is going to be a positive to my bottom line, to my valuation, to exactly what I'm looking like, because I'm not really accounting for it yet, because I can't until we get that guidance and everything else there. And additionally, there was no change in regulation making EVs completely outlawed or something like that. So for me, there was no fundamental changes in the business itself that I can point to that tells me, hey, I need to get out of this stock because it can't perform in this environment. Something changed with management and now they're in trouble. They lost Elon and three other people. Oh, okay, that right there would be a fundamental change, but that didn't happen. So when I'm looking at it and I'm looking to sell, for me, when I just look at that first point, it makes no sense to sell because there was no fundamental change in the business. However, there is a second time whenever I decide that I might look at selling here. Number two is a big hype run up. Now, clearly there was a hype run coming into earnings here, but it cooled off before the earnings. And I don't see it gearing up for another crazy run anytime soon this year. Now, yes, I would agree. It is still trading rich, but it needs to be stupid rich to get me to sell. I'm not talking about just a normal hype run that happens all the time in the market because I'd be getting in and out of stocks all the time, which that's not what I do. I'm not a trader. I'm a long-term buy and hold investor. And so you need to be trading stupid rich, like Tesla 2021 rich, in order to get me to sell. But we aren't there yet. We're not even close. I mean, if Tesla was over at 500 and marching right up to, quickly to 600, and then all sorts of things like that were going on after earnings, it just looked like the train was never going to stop all the way up to 800 or whatever the case was. Well, then you might have my attention on that. And I would have to do some more analysis to really decide, are we at stupid levels or not? And do I need to go ahead at that particular stage and sell a stock? At these levels, despite the fact that it is running hot, it's not hot enough to get me to sell. I'm sorry, it's just not. So if neither of those things happen as a long-term investor, if you're happy with the company, you actually look for opportunities to add to the stock instead based upon valuation. Now, if you're looking to sell now and buy later, that's a whole different strategy. You're basically day trading or swing trading, and you need to go look at the charts and to decide what you want to do from there. But you're not long-term buy and hold investing anymore. Make sure you keep that in mind because that's not the game that they play. Warren Buffett doesn't sell when a stock is overvalued and then it dips down. He actually loves the dips and he actually sometimes likes to add more. Same with Peter Lynch, same with all the other great investors out there. Those guys were not looking to trade in and out of these sorts of things because traders statistically get beat by dead people in terms of returns. So why act like a trader when you can't even beat a dead person who does absolutely nothing? Just doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm not playing any of those sorts of games. There's no reason for me to sell. So what does this mean for the stock price? There is good and bad news, guys. The bad news is the stock is still expensive from a valuation perspective, and that's not me being bearish. I'm just giving you guys the truth on what's going on. Until the margins actually improve quite significantly now, considering how far they've fallen, which will help that EPS number improve significantly as well, Tesla is trading and is going to look expensive at these levels. The good news is, I actually think we may get more opportunities to add to the stock over the next year, as it would appear that Tesla is spending this year, and a lot of money this year, gearing up for a big 2026 or 2027, bombastic, fantastic, shagtastic, whatever, all those crazy words he was using. It seems like they're using this year to gear up for those years, which means there's no reason, no near-term reason for Wall Street to get excited. So they will do Wall Street things in the end, which just means opportunity for us as long-term investors. Right now, currently, I don't see any need to change my price target for Tesla, but because we got no guidance, we got absolutely really nothing tangible here on these earnings to have me adjust that number in any direction one way or another, because I already own all the Tesla shares that I want, plus a bunch of bonus shares, plus bonus shares, plus bonus shares. I got a lot of shares of Tesla I don't need anymore, so I'm only looking for steal deal discounts, which of course, as soon as we get that guidance, I can adjust those numbers from there. But let's see what our guest analyst has to say, because I am sure he has a much more, we'll call it bullish take than I did on these Tesla earnings. So here he is. Here's the Tesla bull.
I can't believe this idiot still has a channel and people actually watch him, since he clearly is a complete moron and doesn't understand Tesla at all, like none at all. I mean, FSD and Optimus not printing $1 trillion tomorrow? What an utter moron, and he should just sell all of his shares because he clearly doesn't understand Tesla. He and all the rest of the bears had me locked away in a Siberian prison, but I escaped, ran across the world, swam across the ocean, and made it back to my penthouse, where, to my surprise, my 27 supermodel girlfriends grew to 69 supermodel girlfriends while I was gone. That's called compounding, Luke, you freaking moron. Moving on. So here's the truth that I heard in these earnings straight from the genius himself, so don't even contradict it. Everyone in the whole world will be using Robotaxi this year, and Optimus will be in every house around the entire world at the end of 2026, including Luke's house, and Tesla will be worth $5 trillion per share. And if you don't think so, then you don't understand Tesla at all, and you need to sell all your freaking shares too, because I'm the Tesla bull. I'm the Tesla bull. I'm the Tesla bull.